The October 15 Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. The very first thing we do, I'm calling it to order at 1 p.m. The very first thing we do is introduce ourselves to those joining us in person and those joining us virtually. I'll go first. My name is Julie Johnson. I am a Historic Preservation Project Manager, and I was nominated by the community at large. Emily, would you like to introduce yourself?
Emily Hazen, Preservation and Design, and nominated by City Planning.
I'm Erica Warzel. I'm an architectural historian and preservation consultant nominated by the community at large.
I'm Nick Fusianis. I'm an architect and a developer, and I was nominated by the American Institute of Architects.
Hi, I'm George Dennis, retired law enforcement. I was nominated by History Colorado.
I'm Larry Sykes. I'm an architect and I was nominated by History Colorado as well.
My name is Chris McGinnis, and I'm a forensic architect, and I was nominated by the mayor's office.
And I'm Brittany Bryant, Denver Landmark Preservation staff.
Great. Thank you, everybody. So before we get going with our agenda, let's talk about a few audio tips for those of you joining us virtually. Hopefully it might make it a little easier for you all. For better sound quality, we strongly encourage you to download Zoom on your desktop, your laptop, tablet, or mobile device. You can click on the audio settings to bring up an additional menu, and you can add a background noise suppression and test your speaker and microphone, adjust their maximum output volumes. For presenters or public commenters, when it is your turn to speak, to mute or unmute, you can click on the little microphone icon at the bottom of the screen. You can expand the menu next to the microphone. That will reveal additional options. You can select your speaker and microphone devices. Test your microphone and speakers, adjust their maximum output volumes. And if you still have audio challenges, you can switch to your phone for the audio. All right, first on the agenda is meeting records for approval or October 1st records. Were there any additions, corrections, concerns? Not seeing any. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Madam Chair,
George.
I move to approve the meeting notes as written.
Thank you, George. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Larry has seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, thank you, staff. The meeting records have been approved. All right, let's talk about the public comment period, which comes at the very beginning of every meeting. Members of the public will have up to 2 minutes each for comments about historic preservation in general, not to include comments associated with any specific projects that we will be seeing later in the design review. To speak, if you're here in person, all you need to do is wave at me and you'll have your 2 minutes to make a public comment. If you are joining us virtually, you can click the hand raise button in Zoom. You can dial *9 on your keypad to raise your hand if you're joining by phone, or you can email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number if you're having difficulty with either hand raise option. Anybody here with a general public comment? Nope. Okay. Anybody in virtual land that would like to make a comment on general historic preservation? Doesn't look like it. Okay, great. All right, then. Seeing no comments, we will go on to the consent agenda. These are routine design review items recommended for the commission approval without discussion. Applicants with items passed on the consent agenda should coordinate separately with landmark preservation staff to receive a certificate of appropriateness. There is no public comment for consent agenda items. The process is this. The chair will announce the consent agenda by address. The chair asks if commissioners desire to remove any items from the consent agenda. Any removed items will be added to the regular design review agenda. Commission members need to announce any ex parte contacts and conflicts of interest on any item. The commission will make a motion and vote. And if, like we said earlier, if your project is approved on consent agenda, you may leave the meeting. Of course, you are welcome to continue to join us, but you can leave the meeting if you wish, and then later contact your staff person that you've been working with. All right, the addresses are 2024-COA-732 at 849 Ray Street. And the second is 2024-COA-141 at 1446-1448 Stewart Street. Commissioners, are there any ex parte, any conflicts of interest? I don't see any. Are there any concerns? Any questions? All right, hearing none, do I hear a motion for approval?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Erica. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Nick has seconded it. Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, the consent agenda has been approved, and like we said earlier, any of you joining us for a consent agenda project, you're free to leave us. Obviously, welcome to join us, but you can get in touch with your staff person. All right, so the design review agenda, this is the process. The chair will announce the design review agenda items on the agenda in order by address. Commission members will announce any ex parte contacts or conflicts of interest. Staff will introduce the application and make a recommendation. The staff presentation is limited to 10 minutes. Commissioners can question the staff. Then at which point the applicant presentation will happen, and that applicant is also given 10 minutes to make the presentation. Commissioners can also question the applicant. After which there will be a public comment period, and the public comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. If you would like to speak regarding a specific project and you are not a part of that applicant team, please click the hand raise button. For those calling via phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. If you're having difficulty with either hand raise option, you can email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number. After the public comment period, the staff will clarify if necessary. Then the commission will deliberate, and then the commission will make a motion and vote. Alrighty, so our first design review item is 2024-COA-498 at 3421 Colfax A Place in the Frank S. Snell subdivision. And Jesse is our staff person. Whenever you're ready, Jesse.
So I just wanted to make a clarification because I think that the incorrect address was listed on the agenda
And the staff report.
and the staff report. So this property is not on the west side of town. It's just simply 3421 Colfax A Place. There's no direction. So here we have 3421 Colfax A Place. It was constructed in 1906 and is a contributing building to the Frank S. Snell Historic District. The property is in violation for site work in the front yard, including the addition of concrete fence and site lighting. The applicant did submit an application that was later approved by staff for the site work violation, which included removal of a significant amount of the concrete, setback of the fence, and some other items. Once the applicant submitted to permit review, it was discovered that the front yard fence was over height. So Landmark staff is recommending conditional approval of this application. We're citing guidelines 5.5 and 5.17, and I'll spend the next few slides going over our findings. So here's that site plan showing the subject fence and lights in the front of the property. And if you'll move to the next slide. So the fence shown here on the left in the top center is 4 feet 5 inches to the top of the finials and 7 feet to the top of the light fixtures that are integrated as part of the overall fence height. The light posts are, they do have a shield on them, so they do meet the full cutoff requirements. And they, again, are 7 feet in height, and that's what's creating, most concern for Landmark staff. Even though the finials do put the fence height over by 5 inches, we felt that that was a small enough difference that we could maybe put this item on consent. But when we were informed by permit that the light fixtures are included in the overall height of the fence, it then went well beyond the 4-foot requirement for fence height, front yard fence height. So we are recommending, alterations. We didn't feel like this met cleanly 5.5. and felt that the fence post should be removed from the fence itself and made to be their own freestanding fixtures. I would note that zoning stated that they may consider an overheight fence in the front yard, but there is no guarantee that that would be approved. They would just consider it. So finally, the applicant has installed that guard to meet full cutoff, but staff is recommending moving that fence or moving the light post back away from the fence, making it its own freestanding element, not to exceed 4 feet in height, which is a requirement as well as landmark requirement. And we don't feel that it meets the height requirements as outlined in guideline 5.17. So we are recommending conditional approval of the fence, citing the fence height, citing that the fence height is 4 feet 5 inches to the top of the finial and 7 feet to the top of the light fixtures. The posts and light fixtures should be separated from the fence so that it better aligns with landmark guidelines for front yard fences. Light posts and fixture height should not exceed 4 feet. The fence height should not exceed 4 feet 5 inches, and the light fixture should not exceed 4 feet in height, citing guidelines 5.5 and 5.17.
Jesse, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Jesse?
Yeah, I do. The first question I have is the order of events here. The site work was done and then cited, I guess, for a violation. They came back and asked for a permit. The permit was granted. The inspection after the permit concluded that the fence was too high. Do I have that right?
So the process went that it was cited, it was inspected. We found that there were violations on site. We worked with the applicant to get something that would be more in line with the guidelines. At that time, the information that was submitted to us is that the existing fence height was 4 feet and that the light fixtures were, according to our inspector, not included as part of the overall height of the fence. So we issued an approval once they put the shield in the light and remedied the other violations on the site. And then it went to permitting, and permitting then stated that the light fixture is part of the overall height of the fence.
Mhm.
And then we figured out too that the finials added an additional 5 inches in height. So that wasn't included in the original COA. The original COA was for a 48-inch high front yard.
I'm trying to distinguish here if the applicant complied with everything they knew about at the time they knew it, or was it an after the fact discovery?
So the applicant complied with most of the things. They did not tell us that the finials added an additional 5 inches in height.
Okay.
And then once it got to permitting, they discovered that because the light fixtures are integrated in the overall fence, they aren't separate from it.
So the applicant added the height after,
No, the 7 foot high light fixtures were in place already.
I did have another question. So you're recommending that we approve with 2 conditions, that the light post be removed from the fence and be moved back, but that it also needs to meet the 4 foot, 5 inch or 4
It's
foot?
4 foot, sorry,
Okay.
it was a typo.
And so why not have just lowering, I mean, I don't know if it would actually physically work, but why not just lower the light
That is also,
posts
that's
too?
That's also an option, but there's a gate there too, and didn't know if that would interfere.
And the zoning wouldn't necessarily approve that because the lights would be higher than the 4 foot.
Exactly, it would be higher than,
So just to
I mean, I
echo
guess
your
that's-
question is, so if they do pull them back, they still have to be 4 foot high? They can't be 7 feet high?
I've spoken with the zoning reviewer and she stated that those items have to be 4 feet in height.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could be still part of the fence if they were somehow able to be 4 feet high.
Right,
I don't know if that would actually work.
yeah, and it would have to be to the top of the light fixture itself.
Okay, any other questions for Jesse, commissioners? Okay, great. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. Is our applicant here in person? Hi.
Hi.
Why don't you come on up? And you'll be given 10 minutes to tell us about this project. And at the beginning of that 10 minutes, if you could please give us your name and address for our records.
Okay, Lisa Vitabelli, 3421 Colfax A Place. So just a little background on this, just so you guys don't think I'm a rule breaker. I didn't know it was in a landmark house. So when I bought the house, the owner and the selling agent never mentioned it. It wasn't in my title paperwork, so I had no idea that I was landmark. I went ahead and tried to beautify this house because it didn't look great in the front yard. So I spent a lot of money to do all this work and then got all the violations. So now I'm trying to work with Landmark and Jess to try to get everything in compliance that I can at hopefully the least amount of expense possible, since I've already spent so much to do all this work. So I'll show you the before picture. This is what, I don't know how to,
I'm controlling. the
oh, I'm sorry.
slides.
So this is what the yard looked like before. And then the next slide is what it looked like after. I don't know if you can scroll to see the other pictures. Well, these pictures are huge. I don't know why the whole thing's not showing, but
Let me see if I can fix. Yeah, it's not. This is unfortunately the size I have
okay.
them as.
Well, if you want to go back to the before, you might be able to get an idea of just the state of despair it was in that I tried to beautify. And I was trying to do it that was complementary to the style of the house. So every intention that I had was to, to make it look better and not just to make it an eyesore. I did speak with Tanya over in zoning, and she's been great to work with as well. My request, and I guess I should back up a second, is I ordered a 4-foot fence. What I didn't think about is that the ornaments that I ordered added the height. So when I ordered a 4-foot fence because I didn't think I would need a permit with a 4-foot fence because I didn't know I was landmark. And then it didn't matter if I was landmark. I mean, it didn't matter since it's over 4 feet anyways, but so that was part of it. But the lights, I'm hoping that I can keep them as is, because I'm already moving the fence back, and I think it would look kind of silly to have the lights so low. I just don't think it would look good. And I'd like to, again, save as much expense as possible, not having to add more things. But if I could at least get Landmark's approval to keep the light as is and then apply for zoning. And if zoning says no, they say no, and I'll have to do whatever I have to do. But zoning said that there is an application that I can make to have to have that 7-foot 7-foot lamp. So I'm hoping to apply for that and get approved. I guess that's it.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions?
I agree that the light would look silly at 4 feet, whether it's on the fence or not on the fence, right? That's not really a question. It's an observation. I was just thinking about a 4-foot light fixture would look great.
Yeah.
Are there neighboring houses that have this similar condition with these lights in the front yard framing the
No, and
sidewalk?
that's actually another issue. Like, I have neighbors with chain link fence and another fence that's like 7 foot tall right on the sidewalk. So like, I'm singled out, but my whole neighborhood looks not great. So I don't,
Right.
It's kind of one of those things where I'm not looking to make anyone else have a violation, but all of my neighbors love the front yard, have been complimentary to it because it was an eyesore. And, it's just been kind of 7 circles of hell dealing with this. So
Here's my question. Could you remove those light fixtures from the fence and just put a regular post there?
I mean, they're welded on and I got broken into twice in August. And even having those shields, like it's 135 lumen, my light, my phone light is practically brighter than them. And then I cut off 80% putting the shields on. So, I mean, I'd like some light walking into my house. So that's my only, I mean, I guess I could do the ground ones or something, but
Yeah, you probably could do them in the planners, I guess.
Did you mention that you're already going to have to move the fence?
See, screwed up.
yeah, I'm moving the fence back from the kick plate there to behind the shrubs. So those shrubs are gonna be 4 feet tall. And then instead of having it in front, I'm gonna have to put it in the back.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, already redoing wiring and such, I'm just trying to conceptualize.
Yeah. So, and everything's already welded on, so that's the other thing, it's like, had I known in advance, I would have went through all the proper processes, but I didn't, so now here I am, so.
It's an unfortunately common story to not know that your landmark or your historic.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for applicant? Okay, great.
Thank you, I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
everyone's
Yeah,
time.
no, absolutely. All right, so now we're to the public comment period for design review projects and public comment for, this is the process for public comments. If you are here in person, probably there's no one here in person that would like to make a public comment. So if you're joining us virtually and you would like to make a comment, please click the hand raise button in Zoom or dial *9 if you're joining us by phone, or you can email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number if you're having difficulty with those other options. You will be given 2 minutes to make your comment directed to commissioners. Taylor, do we have anybody? Doesn't look like we have any hands raised. Nope. No, okay, so no public comment. All right. Then would the staff like to, does staff have any other comments? Jesse?
Yes,
there
I'm
you are.
over here
Sorry.
today. So just wanted to clarify, the fence was in right of way and she had to move it back anyways. Again, I've been in conversations with zoning and they did state that the fence is over height, that they would consider an over height fence, but that is no guarantee of approval.
So if we approve this as it's presented, it would still have to go through zoning and they could still say no.
Yes.
Clear. All right, commissioners, any other questions for staff before we go into deliberation? All right, great. Then let us go into deliberation. What are people's thoughts? It's a beautiful fence.
Yeah, I mean, I can support it as presented, just moving it back, keeping the, and then see what zoning says.
Okay,
I think the question for me, in terms of us allowing things to violate zoning, isn't the idea that it needs to be in support of maintaining the character of the district. And I guess I don't see how the lights particularly like having the lights in that configuration would necessarily support the character of the district.
That's if you're making an administrative adjustment request, which is not here. If you feel that this meets the design guidelines, you can recommend it and zoning can review it on their criteria. I will say about this district is there are virtually no rear yards in this district. It is a block that was cut in half by the developer, Frank Snell, and they're all Denver squares. And the yard spaces essentially are the front yards
Okay.
on these properties.
I forgot to add one more thing. On this block, there are no other fences, except for one, and it's a chain link fence that had been there prior to district
Yeah.
designation.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it now, it looks
Fences.
like it's in the right of way too.
Fences are very rare in this district.
I will say, looking at Google Earth and putting the lights in perspective to the houses and the streetscape, they're very unassuming, in my view.
They're very what?
Unassuming.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, just looking at 5.17, that, you know, scaling this lighting fixtures to be subordinate, yes, they're tall, but they're quite minimal for what they are, and I agree that to have them separate and be the same height as the fence would actually be quite awkward. So I don't think that's the right solution, so I guess given everything else, I'm okay supporting the fence as it is as well.
Emily, what do you think?
It'd be different, very different if it was on like a brick column or something that was drawing attention to it.
You seem okay? George?
Yep. Okay, my inner cop is coming out, and to have a light at 4 feet level is ridiculous, a block off Colfax. So I think if this property applicant has any beef, it's with zoning, it's not with us. I think we should just let it go as built and let her maybe support a zoning amendment, but absolutely, nope, been there, done that, seen it. I think it's fine the way it is.
Larry, thoughts?
Yeah, no, as long as it's not the same as the administrative adjustment criteria, then I can support it.
Excellent. Chris?
Yeah, I don't really have any further comment, other than if we're setting a precedent here, is that gonna really affect anything down the line? I mean, that's the only concern I would have. If we kind of allow this one, is it?
I think, I mean, given that we're always looking to the design guidelines and seeing how it fits on a case by case basis, and if we're saying if we think it meets the design guidelines, I guess I would say that it's not a precedent per se. But that's my take.
Case by case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we've been advised that nothing really sets a precedent. Obviously, we encourage consistency
Yeah.
with past decisions, but because everything is case by case, doesn't necessarily mean we would approve it elsewhere.
All right, then it sounds like we are, have come to a consensus, but the consensus is approval, not approval with conditions. So whoever makes the motion needs to change it so that it's approval as presented.
And just to note, the motion does read West Colfax.
So we need to change that as well.
Strike west.
Just strike
It
west.
is actually
put,
technically East Colfax A place.
Zoning amendment number 2.
No,
There
I
is
think
no
it
other
needs to be zoning.
Colfax A place.
It has
Yeah,
to be
they
zoning.
show up on auto population.
All right, do I hear somebody willing to give a motion?
I'll give it a shot.
George?
I'm planning on everybody correcting here.
Careful with
Madam
this.
Chair, I move to approve application 2023 COA 498 for the overhead front yard fence and lights at 3421 West Colfax A Place. As per design guidelines, character defining features for the historic district, and presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
George, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second, and then I'd like to make a friendly
Certainly, Erica.
amendment that we reference design guidelines 5.5 and 5.17, or at least 5.17.
Okay,
And I'd like to make an amendment
Larry?
that we change the address to 3421
Oh, yeah.
East Colfax A Place.
Yeah, I think there were two.
And the historic district to Frank S. Snell Historic District.
All right. Do you accept those amendments?
Absolutely.
Erica, do you accept those? Okay, excellent. Okay, all righty. So the motion as amended, do I hear, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, excellent. So the application is successful. All righty. And then we'll go on to zoning.
Hear it.
Is that right?
I mean,
I know.
that was my impression.
You didn't want to hear, yeah. That's
You wanna
okay.
hear the.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
All right, so we are moving on to our next design review project, which is 2024-COA-693 at 485 Lafayette Street in the Driving Park District. And Jesse is once again our staff. Whenever you're ready, Jesse.
So this is 485 Lafayette Street. It is currently a vacant lot in the Driving Park Historic District. The applicant is requesting to construct a new 2-story structure and 1-story garage on this lot. Landmark staff recommend approval of this application citing guidelines 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.8, 4.15, 4.16, 4.18, and 4.19. And I'll use the next few slides to go over my findings. So the new structure will be 37 feet 6 inches by 56 feet 2 inches, and will be 29 feet 4 1/4 inches in height. This does fit within the range of building footprints and heights found in the immediate block context. And here you have block context as well as the floor plans, roof plans for the new structure. So the building design draws from Tudor Revival style houses that are in this district. And pictured here are compatibility demonstrations that were included in the application materials, just showing how what inspiration they were drawing when designing this structure. So the building features a raised foundation with a hipped roof with gables. The applicant is proposing window and door proportions, rhythms, and layouts that draw from the Tudor Revival context. The home's entrance will face onto Lafayette Street, and the home will be set back 24 feet 8 inches, fitting in with the typical range of entrance locations and setbacks for this block. And then pictured here is the streetscape study showing how the proposed design will fit into the immediate block context. And they've also included some 3-dimensional drawings as well, so you can better understand. Finally, the applicant is proposing to construct a 1-story gable roof garage at the back of the lot. The garage will be 22 feet by 23 feet and will be 16 feet in height. The garage will have an overhead door that faces onto the alley, and the garage placement and access does conform with district patterns. So Landmark staff is recommending approval of the application, citing the building footprint and placement on the site fits with the immediate block patterns, guideline 4.1 and 4.2. The building form, massing, height, and features fit with the range of building forms, massing, height, and features found in on the block and in the district context, guideline 4.3 and 4.4. The building features, if you'll go back, the building features a simple form that draws from the Tudor Revival style structures in the district, but is still recognizable as modern construction, guideline 4.5. The building's roof form and door and window proportions, rhythms, and placements fit with those found in the district's guideline 4.6 and 4.8. The garage is large, but is located the garage is located at the back of the lot and is simple in design and is recognizable as modern construction, guideline 4.18 and 4.19. Now, if you'll move to the next slide. So we are recommending approval of this application. And you can truncate the listed guidelines. I know it's a mouthful to say. So 4.1 through 4.6, 4.8, and then 4.15 through 4.19.
Jesse, thank you. Any questions from commissioners for staff?
I just wanted to clarify, this is just for phase 1.
This is just for phase 1.
Should we reference that in the motion? Or is it not necessary?
Brittany, do we usually reference phase 1 versus phase 2 mass?
We do normally reference it, but it's kind of a little semantic-y because we'll give it a new COA number for the phase 2.
Oh, right.
anyways.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Jesse? Okay. Jesse, thank you. All right. So do we have the applicant joining us virtually? Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Thank you very much. So you will be given 10 minutes to talk about your project. And at the beginning of that 10 minutes, please give us your name and address for our records. And you can begin anytime.
Okay. Hi, my name is Steve Mason. I'm with Studio 646 Architecture. We're located at 301 Commercial Road in Golden, Colorado, 80401. So just kind of going over what Jesse said. So here's an overall vicinity map showing the driving park neighborhood. We've got a perspective of the street and just a general narrative of the project. I'm going to go into the next slide. So here's more of just the adjacent block. We're there up on the 5th and Lafayette corner almost with one project just to the north of us. We have aligned the front of the building or house where it goes in line with all the rest of the homes on our block and is following the front setback that we have, which is block sensitive. And then we have some other dimensions there of the adjacent properties. Next slide, please. So here's just some existing conditions. It is a vacant lot. There was a building there at some point, but it had been demolished prior to the purchase of when our owners purchased it. And it goes straight through to the alley. So there is no fencing around the site currently besides the neighbor's site fencing. Next slide. So here's our streetscape. One thing we really noticed on both sides of our street is the sidewalks and how they all had some steps coming up. So we wanted to mimic that. There's a combination of single-story residence and two-story. So we felt the two-story was in the context of the streetscape, and we just wanted to kind of make sure it still fit in with the existing residences. Next slide, please. So here's just an enlarged site plan with some of our floor plans and roof plan, which I can answer any questions if there's any further questions later. So yeah, if we can go on to the next one. So here's a little more blown up streetscape. We did model the southern 3 properties and the home to the north of us, which isn't a contributing landmark structure. So we noticed the height seemed to be in line. There is a 2-story home just over to 465 Lafayette. And we felt the context of our building fits in nice with the streetscape there. Next slide. Here's our elevations. What we were looking for is, as brought out, we were going with the Tudor revival style, which has been found in the neighborhood. We were looking for that asymmetrical design style using brick at the base, where the timber accents in the gables with stucco. We're also planning on using some stone headers and sills, and also having that stone arched entry surround there. The garage, which is on the right there, will be matching in materials and hoping to, it ties in with the house nicely with the same materials. Next slide. Here's just the side elevations. So continuing with the same window styles, which were narrower and taller with the window grid patterns. So we just were keeping that following along all 4 sides of the house. And then we have a couple chimneys on this south elevation, which will help on some of the detailing we can add to it. Next slide. Here's just a 3D perspective to give some depth to see some of the depth and offsets that we've made on the front of the building. So that front porch is projected out 4 or 5 feet from the door to give some nice shadow lines and an entry. Next slide. And then here we're contributing our compatibility images from which were found in the neighborhood. So we were looking at the chimneys, excuse me, the steep roofs. We did notice that arch entry happening quite a few times with the stone, and then also that traditional Tudor feel up in the gables or upper portions of the buildings with the timber and stucco detailing. The next slide is just a few more examples in the neighborhood with, we have the bay window on one of those examples, which we're proposing a little pop-out window on the left side or south side of the front elevation, and just more of the similar detailing that we're proposing on ours. And I think that was it. That's all I had, so I'm available for any questions you may have for me.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioners, questions for the applicant? Nick?
Yes, I noticed that the building envelope on the street facade is detailed within the application or shown as an overlay to your elevation, but the side envelope, the side elevations don't contain the same. Is there, are there limitations, and does this house meet those limitations? Especially the back of the house.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about the bulk plane?
Correct.
Yes, so it will meet that. We do have one gable, if you zoom in on the front elevation there, that we're proposing to look at an administrative modification with zoning. So that dormer on the right, we have that adjustment for the two dormers. But everything else is meeting the zoning heights. We just didn't put those bulk planes on the other elevations at this time.
I would also say that if they do go through landmark for the administrative adjustment, we can do that during phase 2.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? Nope, we don't have any others. All right, good job. You didn't have any questions at all. So let's move on then to the public comment for the design review. If there is there anyone here? If you put up your little hand raise option or dial *9. Do we have any? Nope. Doesn't look like we have anyone. Okay, great. Then Jesse, did you have any additional comments? All right, okay, then let us go into deliberation, commissioners.
I have one thing. The motion says 2023 COA 693.
Oh.
And I just double checked and it is 2024 COA 693. I also just got kicked out of the Zoom meeting, so while you're in deliberation, I will be rejoining.
Okay. This happens when you was speaking.
I know.
Okay, alrighty, commissioners, then let us go into, is it okay for us to be in deliberation? Okay, let us go into deliberation and talk about this. What are your thoughts, people? This is phase 1, mass form and context. Remember, we're not getting into design details. And yeah.
I guess I would just say that I agree with staff's findings, and that I think this is a good starting place. I guess I would just say that I'm not entirely convinced that it adequately conveys its own time period. So I guess I'm not saying I think it fails at it. It's pretty simple and that's good. But I guess I'll just say as a friendly comment that perhaps the materials, phase 2, there could be ways to subtly reinforce that this is a 2024 building.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah. Other thoughts? Commissioners, Emily?
I think the proportions are appropriate, well designed.
All right. Nick, did you have any thoughts?
I don't have anything further to add.
Okay.
No.
Nothing to add here.
Nothing to, Larry, Chris, all right. Can I hear a motion from the floor, please? And remember, it's 2024.
I'll make.
Erica?
I move to approve application number 2024-COA-693 for the phase 1 infill construction at 485 Lafayette Street as per design guidelines 4.1 through 4.6, 4.8, 4.15 through 16, 4.18 through 19, character defining features for the Driving Park Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Erica, thank you. Do I hear a second? Emily has seconded it. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, it passes unanimously. Congratulations on phase one, and we look forward to seeing phase two. All right, the third project on our design review list is 2024-COA-744 at 301 Gaylord Street in the Country Club District. And Brittany is our staff person. Are you back online?
I am.
Okay, great. Well, you just take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay. Our next project is also infill construction influenced by Tudor revival, so it's a very Tudor day. This project is at 301 Gaylord Street in the Country Club Historic District. The existing structure on the site is a non-contributing structure that the commission approved at the September 3rd LPC meeting for demolition, which you can see here on the screen. And then this property is located at 3rd and Gaylord. Apologies on the map in the staff report. I still have this on the wrong block, but it is at 3rd and Gaylord, not Spear and Gaylord, as indicated in the map in the staff report. So here we have the proposed floor plan of the primary structure from the basement up to the second floor. This will be a semi-detached garage. I say semi-detached because there is a connection through the basement. However, from the main ground floor level, it will look like a detached garage. Generally speaking, the footprint of this structure hasn't changed significantly from the last time that the commission reviewed this application. So the primary structure has a footprint of 43 feet by 55 feet 8 inches, and the garage has a footprint of 33 feet. Oh, sorry, that's the height. The garage footprint is 16 feet. Well, I don't have that completely in my notes, but generally speaking, the footprint hasn't changed. At the last meeting, the commission was very concerned about some of the articulation of the roof form, particularly a dormer located on the front elevation on the south side of the roof. The applicant has eliminated that dormer in this proposal. And then there was also a much smaller dormer along the south elevation, which is along the secondary street, that the applicant has also eliminated. And then principally the garage roof form, as this garage was proposed to have a lift structure in it, that was resulting in it having a flat roof and an overly complex roof form for the garage. That has been simplified significantly. So the garage will look like a gable roof from the side street, but it does have a cross gable on the east elevation, and it does transition into a hip on the north elevation. However, staff feel that the alterations made to the primary structure and garage roof form have significantly improved the design compatibility with the surrounding historic context, and it is no longer overly complicated. So here is the primary east elevation and the north elevation, which is on the side interior lot. And you can see the prior front elevation proposed in the orange box here. So again, the applicant has eliminated that dormer that was proposed to be on the south side of the home, where the window wasn't quite fitting up into the dormer like we saw in the last submittal. And the commission felt like it wasn't a typical dormer form. And additionally, during commission discussion, it was determined that that was kind of a false vaulting space and not necessarily needed. So the applicant has eliminated that from the design. Additionally, on the front facade, on the north side of the front facade at the ground floor, that was proposed to be recessed from the massing above. The applicant has eliminated that recess, and to balance out that facade has restudied the window proportions, adding 2 windows onto that elevation on the north ground floor facade. Staff feel that these updates to the facade massing along the primary street have significantly improved the design and have made it more compatible with the surrounding historic context. During the last discussion, there was some discussion regarding the north elevation and that roof transition. However, staff feel that this is a side interior lot and this elevation is not visible from the public right of way, and the structure does appear to be a gabled structure from the side interior, and so therefore are supportive of the shift in the roof eave profile and change in materials that we'll look at in the phase 2 submittal. So just wanted to point out that no significant changes were made to the north elevation. However, we feel that it has minimal impact on the overall design and compatibility with the district. And then here is the proposed west and south elevation. The west elevation is the rear elevation. Not too many changes were made to this elevation. Staff are supportive of the design here. Along the south elevation, you can see that where there is that second story deck, previously there was proposed to be a dormer at that roof eave. That has been eliminated again to match what was done to the front facade, as you can see in the orange box. And then overall, the form and roof of the garage have been simplified. So you can see the very simple gable with the cross gable form in the current proposal versus the last proposal in the orange box with the double gable with that flat roof proportion. So generally speaking, we feel that the overall updates to the massing have significantly improved this design and are recommending approval. Here are just some additional elevations for the garage, just to show that form that has been improved significantly with the elimination of that flat roof form. And then finally, I want to note that the applicant has also continued to work on some of the details that were mentioned in the last review. So they have simplified the window surrounds and currently are proposing just a header and sill. We'll look at specifically what those materials are in the phase 2 submittal, but we do feel that this simplification in the design is more compatible with the Tudor style architecture that you are seeing within the Country Club Historic District, and it does provide good horizontal datum lines for the structure to help break up that massing. And then here are just some additional views. I would like to note on the south elevation, there is still that recess, which is kind of hard to see, but it's in this area here. The commission did extensively discuss that during the last meeting and did feel that it was appropriate as it allowed for windows and light into that space, as it's a 7-foot recess. And then here we just have an color rendering of this project proposal. Obviously, we're not to the phase 2 design detail stage yet, but we feel that this submittal has come a long way and has been simplified in terms of its massing and complexity and is compatible with the surrounding historic context. So therefore, we are recommending approval of the phase 1 mass form and context for this project.
Brittany, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Brittany? Okay, good job. All right, then I know that we have our applicants in person. So at this point, you probably know the routine. Come and have a seat. You'll have 10 minutes to tell us about the project, and please begin that 10 minutes with your name and addresses, and that's both of your names, please.
And I did pull all your renderings up, so I have those,
Perfect.
but I accidentally closed them, so I'm reopening them.
No, that's all right, thank you.
We're having a technical day.
All good.
We're having a day.
My name is Marcus Vesely. We're both at 1361 South Broadway, Denver, Colorado, 80210.
I'm Jim Gunther. I'm the design lead at Larson as well. Brittany, thank you for your comments. I think you summed it up pretty well. One thing that I want to note right off the bat that wasn't addressed is we did lower the height of this house 10 inches, almost a foot. It doesn't impact our grading. It's still going to drain properly, but it's going to help lower this house and not be so tall. And as such, we're just under 3 feet below the bulk plane. But I think dropping the house lowers the extent of all the brickwork and makes it more compatible and not so tall being on a corner lot. And I think the addition of with the rendering you see, we have a lot of landscaping shown at the sidewalk, but there'll certainly be, landscaping at the house, which will minimize the mass. As a designer, it's surely easy to over embellish these houses. So we took your recommendations to heart. I think it certainly simplifies the roof line by taking off those secondary gables. I know the Tudor Element has a lot of the lowered second floor roof lines. And that's where that one in the front, we were gonna have that added. But with a full high ceiling, we don't need it, so I think it doesn't hurt the plan by taking that off. And then the one at the master bedroom, I think that was another one that we didn't have to have. I think it adds more interest to that south elevation on Third and makes your eye kind of go to the chimneys and make that more of a prominent, element to that. The garage still works too. We simplified that dramatically. The client still wants to get some car lifts in there, but we can make that happen with the higher plate line with the lower roofs. We did modify the front of the house significantly at the powder bath to make that overhang go away on that north side. So it has the separated windows, but we're doing the same separated windows on the garage element. So hoping that still ties in with the Tudor Element, which a lot of times you see gang double and triple windows, but because of that space, both of those windows on the right-hand side are the powder room bathrooms. One's the vanity space and the other is a toilet and shower. So that's kind of why it's separated with a brick element. But I think that still plays nice with the elevation. And then we took away all the window surrounds. I think that really helps simplify it and makes the brick really stand out on this house, which is more compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, just a simple cap and seal. And then lastly, one thing what we want to get into in further review of this is to make those gable ends look more realistic. Maybe it's a style of a cutout brick. So we don't try to make this house look more traditional and not kind of an added on kind of a keystone element over those gables. And then I'm hoping you pick up on the finials on the front gables on the side. I think that adds a lot of interest and kind of highlights the gables. So that's all I had for comments.
Okay, did you want to speak?
No, I'm all set. I think you guys covered it.
Okay,
Very much.
excellent. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioners, do you have any questions for our applicants? No? Oh, good job. No questions. All right, then you can have a seat. All right, of course. Public comments. So, whoops. If there are any public comments, do we have any hands raised? No? Okay, excellent. All right, then, staff, did you have any additional comments?
I do not have
Any
any.
commissioners, any questions for Brittany? All right, then let's move on into deliberation. What are your thoughts? Commissioners?
First, I guess I'd say I'm impressed with how quickly they turned around. the
That
new,
was
update.
really impressive. I had to do a double take to make sure I knew which building it was.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think in general, yeah, this is looking much more compatible with the guidelines and yeah, I would support it.
Larry, thanks. Anybody else?
It's much better proportioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would add that the roof marries to the elevations to the plan much better.
It's always
than the
easier
last
to
go
replace.
around. That really comes through, so.
Excellent. All righty, without further ado, do I hear a motion from the floor?
Madam Chair, I
Sorry.
move to approve application number 2024-CLA-744 for the new construction phase one mass form and context at 301 Gaylord Street as per Country Club Design Guidelines B1 through B4, B6, D1 through D5, F1, F3, Design Guidelines 4.1, 4.3, 4.6, 4.8, character defining features for the Country Club Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation and information provided in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, can I make a friendly amendment? I think you missed, oh, you did get 4.3. It's in there twice. Never mind. There's no friendly amendment. Never mind me. That's okay. You're fine. Do I hear a second?
George.
George seconded it. I'm sorry. Alrighty, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, congratulations, gentlemen. We'll see you for phase two then. Look forward to it. All right, our final design review project today is 2022-COA-316 at 3325 Osceola Street in the Packards Hill area, and that is Brittany's project as well.
Okay, so our last project is at 3325 Osceola Street in the Packards Hill Historic District. It is this fourth house here on Osceola North. I don't know if you can really see my mouse, but here is the primary structure as seen from the street. And today we'll be talking specifically about this tiny little addition at the very rear and back. So staff administratively approved this project, and the administrative approval was for a other detached accessory structure, which is being used as an office for the homeowner. And then also alterations to this non-historic rear addition that sits on the south side of the home. It is minimally visible from the public right of way, and this addition was constructed in the 1960s. So here is the addition before work began, and the applicant proposed to replace the siding on this addition and do some window and door alterations as well as the roofing. So we did issue an administrative approval on that scope of work as well as the other detached accessory structure. So when our inspector went out to final out the permit and inspection, we discovered that the scope of work for the addition had exceeded the approved scope of work. And principally that relates to the roof profile. So the old roof profile was a shed roof, and there was to be some shingle replacement on that roof. However, when the applicant, who is also an architect, got in and started looking at this roof, it was severely deteriorated in bad shape. And so the architect replaced the roof as well and reconstructed the roof. We as staff did review this as a collective, and we felt that this roof profile did not quite match this Queen Anne style home. And because it does stick out to the side, we did feel that it wasn't appropriate, and we did recommend to the applicant that they could thin the fascia of the roof or construct a shed roof. However, the applicant has already spent a significant amount of money on this roof reconstruction and is requesting approval as constructed, and you see in the photographs before you today. So I do have the plans to show you what that looks like. So on the top is the existing constructed conditions, and then on the bottom was the previous conditions with that kind of shed roof form that was previously there. And then here is just the south elevation, again showing that view. And then here finally are just some views of that addition from the public right of way. So while this addition is minimally visible from the public right of way, we just felt that the roof form was really atypical of this Queen Anne style structure, and therefore recommending denial of this project scope, as we feel that the roof form is a little too modern for this particular home.
Brittany, thank you. Commissioners, questions for Brittany? No, doesn't look like it. Okay, cool. Our applicant must be joining us virtually then. Do we have, there we go. Hi there, are you there?
Yeah, hi, sorry, I guess.
No, that's okay. That's totally okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're okay. No worries. So you'll be given 10 minutes to talk about your project, and please begin that 10 minutes with your name and address.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Borman. I live at 3325 Osceola Street, which is located in the Packards Hill District. I am also the architect on 1446, 1448 Stewart project, which was approved earlier on the consent agenda. As the owner and architect of the project located at 3325 Osceola Street, I am asking the Landmark Commission to approve the as-built roofline modifications on the existing non-historic addition. The existing single-story addition, estimated to be built in the 1960s, is located at the rear facade of the historically contributing two-story brick Edwardian, set back approximately 58 feet from the front property line. The existing single-story addition has a visible wall length of less than 3 feet facing the street. The entire footprint of the single-story addition is less than 80 square feet. The as-built massing and roof line remains significantly subordinate to the historic primary structure and is built with a simplified contemporary style which is compatible with and deferential to the more ornate steeply pitched roof line and detailing of the historic primary structure. Under this associated permit, as Brittany explained, I was allowed to modify the existing addition by replacing the siding, fascia, soffit, windows, rear entry door, roofing membrane. During that demolition process, I encountered significant dry rot, black mold, and insect infestation. As an architect and building professional, it was evident to me that the roof membrane had been failing for many years and the existing roof structure was beyond repair. So the existing roof plywood and roof joists were moldy, splintered, deteriorated, and could no longer be trusted to perform. Since the addition was already deemed non-historic by staff and my home was open to the elements in October, I made the professional judgment to replace the roof framing with structural members which would satisfy current building and energy codes. While framing, I chose to simplify the design and use a low-slope roof to create a complementary massing which is stylistically compatible with and deferential to the historically contributing primary structure. The increased depth of structural members plus the continuous above deck insulation caused the fascia to increase in depth from the original 8 to 12 inches. The old fascia tapered due to uneven ladder framing to the as-built 16-inch fascia, a difference of inches in roof fascia thickness at 58 feet from the public way. The landmark design guidelines do not support landmark staff motion to deny and to demolish and reconstruct the roof. Guidelines for existing non-historic additions do not outline or require that the existing massing or roof lines remain unchanged or meet certain requirements for fascia thickness. Guidelines for all additions and new residential additions discuss most relevantly respect the character of defining features, maintain visual subordination, be recognized as current construction, and use simplified compatible architectural styles and details, all of which the as-built roof lines strictly adhere to. A few bullet points from the guidelines. 3.3a, design and addition to be compatible with the scale, massing, and rhythm of the historic structure and context. The modifications to the roof line do not change the relationship of the existing non-historic addition to the historic primary structure. The roof form remains diminutive in scale and massing and does not challenge the rhythm of the existing historic structure. 3.3b, align porches and eaves. The modified roof line remains in alignment with the front porch and second floor plate of the primary roof structure. In addition, the roof line closely aligns with the rear non-historic addition of the adjacent properties to the south and the north. 3.4 says design and addition to be recognized as current construction. Under that heading, 3.a says differentiate an addition from the original structure with an offset. The original addition was and remains offset. Differentiate an addition from the original structure with a change in material size. The existing historic addition remains differentiated by scale and material. 3.4c, use simplified versions of building components and details found in the historical context. The primary historical structure has a unique sloped fascia soffit, which would be misleading to emulate. Single-story low-slope roofs with varying thicknesses of fascia are common at non-historic additions in the district, especially at the rear facade. Do not design an addition to be an exact copy of the existing style or imply an earlier period. Clearly, we're not doing that. One of Brittany's points here, do not design an addition to contrast starkly with the original structure. At a minimum, an acceptable design should be neutral and not detract from the district's or structure's historic character. The contemporary style of the as-built roof has a minimal and simplified soffit and fascia. The roof line remains neutral and does not distract from the historic primary structure's character. The original non-historic 2 and 12 shed roof, which staff apparently prefers, was really a product of 1960s suburbanism and was in no way a consideration of compatibility with the original historic home. Whereas the as-built low-slope roof which is much more reflective of current construction and contemporary style, and I would argue to be a more sensitive roof form than what it replaced. The sheer difference in size and distance from the street makes it nearly impossible to discern any contrast. Then it's clearly a non-historic addition with simplified building elements. 3.8A, use a roof form that is consistent with the original structure roof form. We've already said that the primary historical structure has pyramidal roof, so it doesn't make sense to emulate that. The 2 and 12 shed roof was non-historic. Single-story, low-slope roofs with varying thicknesses of fascia are common at non-historic additions in the district. 3.10B, design an addition as a simplified version of the architectural style of the original structure or in a compatible contemporary style. As mentioned, emulating the steep pyramidal roof form would not make sense. Instead, the modified roof utilizes a simplified contemporary style, which is compatible with the historic primary structure. Modern additions or improvements to existing non-historic additions will have thicker fascias due to performance regulations required by modern structural and energy codes. The design guidelines define compatible as the following: the ability of alterations and new designs to be located in or near historic properties and districts without adverse effect. Compatibility refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character and context. I think it's very difficult to look at these drawings and photos and say that the as-built modifications to the roof line of this 80 square foot addition pose any adverse effect upon the existing historic structure or the district. The simple roof line is calm, neutral, and deferential to the primary structure. This beautiful, unique Queen Anne home with its red brick, sloped fascia, and fish scale shingles remains a prominent feature of the Packard Hill district, uncompromised and unaffected by the de minimis as-built roofline modifications to the existing non-historic addition. I respectfully ask the commission to review the drawings and photos and consider if there is really any impact caused by the modifications to the roofline, and please allow the as-built conditions to remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Commissioners, do you have any questions for our applicant? None? Okay, great, thanks. Then let us go on into the public comment. Are there any, hope there's nobody here in person. Is there anyone in virtual land that would like to make a comment? Does not look like it. Okay, any questions for staff?
Do you want to reference that we got the letters?
Yeah, I was just gonna note that we did receive 14 letters of support for the as-built conditions for the roof. Most of the letters principally reference that it has minimal impact on the surrounding historic context. And I just want to note that we are reviewing this because changes were made that would require a permit and were subject to our review. And we as a collective Landmark staff felt that the modified roof form was not appropriate and are making our recommendation based on the addition guidelines that say match the roof profile. Of course, the commission is the deciding body for all applications and may feel differently than the Landmark staff team felt on this particular project, but we felt it was of value for the commission to discuss.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So was this, you said that it required a permit. So that particular roof itself required a permit?
Yes.
So was a permit sought by the applicant?
So the permit was for the replacement of the siding and the window alterations to the addition and the new detached accessory structure. So the scope of work was exceeded.
So the roof work was done without permit?
Essentially, yes.
Unpermitted. Okay, all right. Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners for our staff? Doesn't look like it. Okay, great. Let's go into deliberation, people.
So there are two different issues here as far as I'm concerned. There's process, and was process followed, and the answer is simply no. And then there's the guidelines and the aesthetic issues associated with the guidelines. And I think, you know, had the applicant come initially proposing an alternative that looked like this, had I been part of the commission, I think I would have leaned toward approving it, given the fact that it marries with the accessory buildings, as the applicant did say, in a very nice way. So I'm torn given those two perspectives.
I understand.
I think
Yes,
the
sir.
staff gave the applicant, some very good advice, good guidelines, head for administrative approval. They chose to go another route, and so I think I'm going to support staff on this one as far as meeting guidelines and having guidelines mean something.
Okay, George, thank you. Chris or Larry?
I was just gonna say, it's just really dramatic, right? It just, it's the only thing I don't have any issue with the low slope roof. It's just extremely dramatic, on the side of the house. If it maybe would have been toned down just a little bit, I may have been a little bit more supportive of it.
Yeah, I think that's what staff was talking about when they were cutting down the fascia board or something, yeah.
Yeah.
But Larry,
I think that's my main concern here is that I don't think that a flat roof with a little eave is, that aspect of it is not subordinate. I think it's that the thickness is an unusually thick fascia that actually draws a lot of attention to that, and it is very visible from the front facade. And I think, right now, looking at the photo, it's painted dark, and so right now it kind of goes away and there's some trees. But in the future, somebody could change the paint color and draw a lot more attention to it. And I think the applicant's argument that the thickness is driven by the insulation requirements and structural requirements. It's pretty common to have a very thick structural element inside of the thermal envelope and then have some thinner structure extend out past that. So I don't see why it couldn't be modified to do something along those lines if that's what they would like to present in future for approval. So yeah, I think it's really just the thickness of the fascia that I agree with staff report on that.
But I would just add to that, to the overhang, the amount that that very thick fascia is overhanging, I think just draws more attention to it. So, yeah, I agree that there's the two elements, but I think as a process and then design that we have before us, but I think in the end, what we're really looking at is the design that's before us. And ultimately, I think while some of it works, there's a big part that doesn't. And so I think I need to agree with staff.
Erica, thanks. Emily? Your thoughts?
Same, it's the horizontality of the overhang that catches me.
Yeah. It is very dramatic, as earlier said. All right, it sounds like we're in agreement then. Do I hear a motion from the floor?
I'll make the motion.
Sure, thank you.
I move to deny application number 2022-COA-316 for the as-built conditions for the addition roof at 3325 Osceola Street as per design guidelines 3.4 and 3.8. Character defining features for the Packards Hill Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Erica, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Chris has seconded it. Thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
We have one nay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yay. Yeah, one nay. Yeah, we can afford it. Thank you, Nick. All right, commissioners, that is the end of our design review projects. We have business items, one business item, however, and that is a CLG 2024 annual report from Kara. Is she here? Kara's here. Kara? I can totally read the process for business items. I may if I can, right? Okay, so the process for business items is, these are the items for the commission deliberation and voting. The chair will announce each business item on agenda, which I guess I kind of already did. I jumped the gun there. Staff will introduce the business. Let me try that again. Staff we'll introduce the business item. Commissioners can question staff. There will be a public comment period limited to 2 persons or 2 minutes per person. I'm sorry. Limited to 2 minutes per person if anyone would like to comment on a specific project. Staff can clarify if necessary. The commission will deliberate and then the commission will take a motion and vote. All right, now without further ado, Kara Han, take it away, please.
Hi, for those of you who are new, my name's Kara Han. I'm the Landmark Planning and Regulatory Supervisor, so I oversee more of the designation side. So you'll see me and some of my colleagues a little less frequently, but today I get to be here with 2 items for you guys. So first, we're going to talk about the Certified Local Government Annual Report, which is just as exciting as it sounds. So a certified local government is what we at the City and County of Denver are. We are certified by History Colorado and by the National Park Service. And when you're certified, it gets you the ability to have grants and apply for grants and the ability to work on other types of projects. But it also requires us to do a few different things. One is to maintain a commission that is made up of a panel of experts like you guys. And so this is just the annual report. It goes by the federal fiscal year. So that's why we are doing this now. So it goes from October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024. So this is something that we do. The History Colorado sends it on to the Park Service and the Park Service uses it to look at trends nationwide in preservation. So this is just a little bit of like some of the summary of the projects and what everyone has reviewed. So for design review, in that time period, we reviewed 1,741 projects. Of those, 141 came to this commission or the LDDRC, mainly to you guys, and staff reviewed about 1,600 applications. We also did demo reviews, so we review all demolitions citywide. So staff reviewed 355 buildings for demolition. We also have a program called Discover Denver, which is a partnership between us and Historic Denver, which is the local nonprofit. And we are surveying the city building by building. So in that time period, we surveyed 4,402 properties within the city and county of Denver. We also designated 2 individual properties and 1 historic district, which came before you guys. So that's what happened during that time period. The CLG report also asks us to talk about what kind of outreach we do, what were our accomplishments, what are our challenges. So in outreach, we're out in the public quite a bit as staff. We're doing presentations, we have a newsletter, we do R&O training. So my design review colleagues that you guys see on a regular basis meet with the R&Os and help train them through the review process. So when they're providing you guys with comment, it meets the design guidelines. Staff goes to a wide variety of preservation conferences, webinars, those types of things. So we're pretty out in the public, given the workload that we have. When I talked to the staff about what everyone thought our greatest accomplishments were, the thing that came up first is the designation customer guide, as being a process that has taken a while, but is out in the public. And based on our review of what other cities have done, this is one of the most robust and well-designed ones, I think, in the country. So I'm a little bit biased because I helped work on it, but I'm really excited about that and that's out in the public to see. We're also excited about our work with Denver in Context, which is our historic context series that focuses on Denver's historically excluded communities. We as preservationists have typically only done contexts and nominations for one small segment of the population, and you can't designate what you don't know. And so Denver in Context is really to tell the larger story of Denver. And we're currently working with our American Indian and Indigenous peoples communities in Denver to help tell their story. And so we're in the midst of that project, and we've hit a big milestone in completing last week our tribal convening. So we're very excited about that. And then also the accomplishments of our design guideline update, holding a variety of community meetings and really working through what should these design guidelines look like. And so we're still midway through the second phase, but really excited that that's hopefully coming close to you guys seeing something. As Brittany's fingers crossed, she's the one who's really helping lead this project, but we're really excited to making good progress on that. And then our challenges is just a really high workload. We have noticed, I'd say over the last few years, that the complexity of the projects are getting more. That, you know, one of my colleagues for rezoning said, we've rezoned all the easy stuff, now it's only the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing the same thing in Landmark. We're seeing a lot of like complex reviews, a lot of additions that are pretty complex. So I think that's been really hard. Also, we have a variety of positions that have been held open due to some of the budget constraints. And so the design review team at this moment is basically down 3 staff. So that's pretty tough for them to keep that up. And so the workload, those are sort of our bigger challenges. And so that's kind of just a brief summary of that. We are, you know, really excited with the number of projects we've gotten done and how well we're still moving forward. So we are recommending as staff that you approve the CLG annual report and that we forward it on to History Colorado and the Park Service.
Kara, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Kara? I mean, like, what do you do in your spare time?
We try to sleep occasionally.
Oh, man. No, I am always very impressed with the staff here. You guys handle an amazing workload and did a terrific job. Any other comments, commissioners? All right, then do I hear a motion from the floor?
And I'm just gonna note, we don't have any more public,
We don't have any-
virtually or in person attending.
Thank you. All right, so there won't be any public comments. So do I hear a motion from the floor?
I move to approve the 2024 Certified Local Government Annual Report per presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
Emily, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Erica has seconded. Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? No? All right, you have been unanimously approved, Kara.
Excellent, and it's just hard to believe no one's hanging out to hear.
You
the
know,
staff report.
yeah, well,
I did, yeah, I just did want to say thank you
Yeah, that's
to
same.
all the staff, like the work that you guys do help us do good work
Yeah.
and look good. So thank you very much for everything you do.
for sure. Thank you.
Did it.
All right, we are going into discussion items. These are informational items or items for the commission to discuss without action. I will announce the item. Staff will introduce the information item or item for discussion. There typically is no public comment for discussion items, even when people are still in the room or virtually. However, the chair may allow at the discretion, and I would if we had anybody that wasn't outside enjoying the delicious weather today. The commission will discuss amongst ourselves and with staff, and there will be no actions or votes that will be taken for the discussion items. So Kara, as our staff person again, we have a bundle alignment dash amendment to chapter 30. Kara, tell us about this, please.
Sure, so just a little bit, so the Denver Landmark Ordinance is chapter 30 of the Denver Revised Municipal Code. And it's what governs and oversees everything that we do. But in what I find is a unique twist, you guys are the ones who do a lot of the administration of it, but you can't vote on it. We can just let you know that it is occurring. So I find that to be a slightly interesting way to go about, but there you go. So the Denver zoning code is updated on a periodic basis. It's a living document. Most of the updates are intended to be, you know, we find typos, we find errors, we've lived with it for a little while and found out this doesn't work as well as it should. The goals here are to have a modern, clear, and user-friendly zoning code. So it's technically the 2024 bundle text amendment, but everyone just calls it the bundle. So it just knows that every couple of years we take, you know, things that we hear from the public, things that we hear from applicants, you know, how do we make this a little bit easier? So in this round, we're just doing some minor cleanups and modifications, trying to do things that will reduce plan review times, simplify enforcement, and clarify some standards, as well as eliminating conflicts with other city codes or state laws. So that's where we as Landmark come into this. Typically, Landmark doesn't do a lot with the zoning code in terms of overseeing it, but we're coming into this with just a small tweak to the Landmark ordinance. So chapter 30, we were established by City Council in 1967. It's been updated periodically, most recently in 2019. There's currently a part of the Denver, or our Landmark ordinance, that will conflict with the updates to the Denver zoning code. So we're making a very small and minor strategic removal of parts of the Landmark ordinance in order to align with the updates to the Denver zoning code. So Landmark staff is recommending that we remove section 30-50, which is the very last section of the Denver Landmark ordinance. And it addresses parking, and specifically excess parking in lower downtown. It's pretty outdated. It's very rarely used. And if we would update it, it would align with preservation and city policies, which would reduce oversized parking lots in lower downtown. So it would align with just good sound preservation, but it also makes sure that we align with the Denver zoning code and we don't have conflicts between any sort of city policies. So we will be taking this through the process, we'll be taking this through the alignment, and we will be taking this through the adoption process, sorry. So we are just following the bundle process, and we'll just be showing up at all the same meetings they are to basically tell them this is a really minor update. We're only doing it to conform with that. And so it will just follow the city council process. It will eventually go before city council December 16th for the second reading. They are the ones who would review, vote, and approve it. So you guys are able to discuss now, should you wish. And I can take that comment forward, but we don't have, but there's no vote for this. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have on this.
Cool, thanks, Kara. Any questions for Kara? I didn't even know we had a parking thing.
Yeah, excess parking? Where?
I know, is that a problem?
It's in lower downtown, so
Yeah.
you just don't really see it ever.
No, you never see excess parking lower downtown. Anybody, any questions? Okay, then I guess we don't need to discuss. Good luck. Your endeavor, Kara.
Are you guys generally supportive of this? Should city council ask me, I want to be able to like provide your general assessment.
What was it there for in the first place? I mean, like,
So
its main target.
Too much parking in Lodo, people have been
it's
complaining about it.
basically for where you can build 130-foot tall buildings in Lodo, and you had to park those buildings. But now with all the parking reductions that are available through the code, it's obsolete and no one pursues excess parking in any way. The only thing they ever really pursue is accessible parking within a certain like route distance. And then because we have this section, people are like, oh, you have to review this accessible parking. And I was like, no, we don't. It's all good. If the Office of Accessibility is signed off on it, we don't need to look at it. So that's like the biggest problem for us. But yeah, in my 12 years here, we've never brought any excess parking forward.
It's interesting.
So yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I
thank
think
you.
we support you, yes. Or
Thank you.
support, yeah.
The amendment, yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate, I
Of course, we
appreciate that.
support you, Kara.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Anytime, yeah, I'm on the day too. All right, are there any other items for the good of the order? All right, then it's 2:34 and I'm adjourning the meeting today, so everybody enjoy your day. Yeah.
Likewise, thank you.